Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about something that's extremely serious and important. It's something that we as parents and adults need to be prepared with or aware about if this kind of a situation ever arises in our life. What I'm talking about is how do you handle disclosure of child sexual abuse? When a child that you care about, your own child, comes up to you and tells you that they've been abused, what do you do in a situation like this? Well, I understand that it's never ever easy for any parent or any adult to witness or to know or to discover that their child had to go through such a traumatic experience. What happens a lot of times is when a child comes up to you and tells you something of this sort, we are too overwhelmed with our own emotions. We don't know how to react. We are shocked, we are angered, we are surprised, we are disgusted. And our own emotions, our own thoughts at that moment overpower us. And we kind of do not really know what do we do next. And that is the exact reason why it's so very important for you to know how to handle something of this sort very, very effectively. Now, why do I even talk about this? I talk about this because, every time I'm seeing my clients for therapy, these are young adults, these are adults who've come to me for various different issues in their life. But as a protocol or as a system, in our first session, we usually ask the client if ever as a child they were bullied or they were abused. And there are different forms of abuse, and there's just not sexual abuse. And 8 and 9 out of 10 of my clients have reported that they've been sexually abused. And they've been sexually abused by somebody that they knew, by somebody who was a person that they trusted and they loved. And often they stay quiet and they struggle with it all by themselves. And they don't ever come up with it. And when they have opened up about it, a lot of people or a lot of children do not get the right support, do not get the right reactions. And whatever the offender had told them, that nobody's going to believe them, actually comes true for them. So that is why I think it's extremely important that you as parents and adults should know in a situation like this what needs to be done. There are 3 steps to it. Number 1, recognizing a child has been sexually abused. Recognizing the signs of an abusive situation is a skill that a parent or a caregiver needs to master. There are certain warning signs that I'm going to talk about right now that could be indicative of child sexual abuse, but not necessarily is always the case, right? So check out for different behavioral changes that have happened in your child. For example, sudden drop in academic performance. Could be related to the abuse or could be related to other forms of bullying or unrest or disturbance in the day-to-day routine of the child, right? But these could be some indications or some signs that could indicate it. Sudden increase or decrease of food intake. The child remaining very, very sad and consistently talking less. Becoming a little too aggressive and angry and irritable could be another sign. Sudden disproportionate fear of a person, place or color. Passive or overly pleasing behavior. A new vocabulary, a new sexual vocabulary which doesn't have an obvious source and you become completely taken aback by it. Repeated urinary infection. Swelling and injury to the genital area. Hints and indirect communication about abuse. Kids usually do not disclose about abuse directly. They will keep giving you hints about it. They'll keep talking about abuse in terms of, a cousin of mine told me something of the sort, या मेरे फ्रेंड के साथ ऐसा हुआ, या मेरे फ्रेंड को कोई परेशान कर रहा है, उस दिन मैंने रास्ते में देखा कोई किसी को ऐसे कर रहा था. So they'll keep giving you indirect comments and hints about abuse. You've got to listen out and be careful about it. Explicitly sexual behavior and then sexual play that starts. These are few of the signs And all of these signs or any one of the signs doesn't necessarily, again I would repeat, indicative of sexual abuse, but could be. So it's important as a parent that you are aware and you are more mindful of any behavioral changes, any extreme behavioral change that your child goes through. Any change you need to address, you need to sit, you need to talk about it. Second, helping the child talk about the abuse. Now, before you can help the child talk about abuse, it's important to know that why kids will never talk about abuse. Only when you know why would kids not want to talk about abuse, and when is it that the child really wants to start talking about abuse, could you help them to talk much more effectively and listen to them well. Now, when is it that the child doesn't want to talk about the abuses? Because most of the times, maximum number of times, the offender has manipulated through various techniques the victim by telling him that speaking about it is not a great idea, right? How? He will tell them, Mummy Papa to vishwas hi nahi karenge. I love you so much, I care for you. This is our little game. This is a special secret. You also liked it, right? Didn't you? And people are going to be very, very angry. And what is going to happen? Or I will, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill your parents. I'm going to harm your brother, your little sister. So these are the reasons. This is the manipulation that has happened to the child. And the child is most of the times confused, scared, doesn't really know what to say, doesn't really have the awareness about it also. That whatever is happening to him is actually something that's not right. That he will or she will not talk about it. Now, when is it that the child would want to then talk about it? Most of the time the children or the kids would want to talk about the abuse when they've had it too much, they can't tolerate any more of abuse. Secondly, like I mentioned earlier, because of some conversations, because they see something on the media, or in school there is this awareness camp that's cutting up, they become aware of the fact that whatever is happening with them is actually abuse. So the awareness and understanding of whatever is happening with them is abuse will make them want to speak about it, because it kind of gives them the idea of that it's wrong and that it needs to be reported. 3. Kids will always want to talk about abuse and tell that it is something of this sort is happening with them when they share a positive and a secure relationship with an adult, which will provide them the confidence that whatever has happened with them, they can go ahead and talk about it. Another reason why would child want to open up is because when there is this desire to protect other children also that are undergoing abuse. A lot of cases I've seen with my clients. When is it that they wanted to actually go up to their parents and talk about abuse, that they've been getting abused by a family member, is when they start seeing that their own other sibling is also getting abused by the same family member. And that is when they realize that जो भी हो रहा है गलत हो रहा है और अभी इसको मैं और नहीं होने दूंगा. Now I have to go and tell my folks or anybody about it because this has to stop, right? So this is when they won't want to talk about it. Now when your child comes and talks to you about it, there are certain do's and don'ts that you've got to take care of. Do's: keep calm, keep stable. It's the most shattering news to hear, but any of your reaction, any of your shock, disbelief, anger, frustration, and whatnot will go through your mind. That reaction of yours will make them keep quiet. Why? Because they want to protect you, because they don't want to disturb you, because they don't want to upset you, right? So your staying calm in this entire process when they're coming up and telling you is extremely important. Next, believe the child. जब आपका बच्चा आके आपको ऐसी कोई भी चीज बता रहा है, उस पर विश्वास करो. Most of the parents, I think, if they get to hear it, it is so, it is so shocking for them, and it is such a, disbelieving thing for them that they'll not believe in it. They're like, झूठ बोल रहा है, मजाक कर रहा है, कुछ गलत छलत देखता रहता है, इसलिए आके ऐसे बोल रहा है, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. It's also very difficult to believe that a close person that you trust could do that to your child, right? So, but if the child is coming up to you and saying it about it, remember, it's very, very hard for a child to come up and tell it to you. Why? Because he anyhow believes that nobody's going to believe me. Why? Because the offender kept saying that to you. So if you again show them a little hint of the fact that you don't believe in them, he'll not tell you, right? So that's why believing the child is extremely important. Answer the child's question as honestly as you can. बहुत सारे questions होंगे. उसको ये क्वेश्चन होगा कि अब अगर मैंने आपको बता दिया है, कहीं वो ऑफेंडर आपको तो नहीं चोट पहुंचाएगा, बिकॉज दैट्स व्हाट ही सेड. Answer them as much as you can, as honestly as you can. You will not have all the answers there and then. You let them know that you'll come back to them and you'll let them know कि क्या हो रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा है. Tell them, most importantly, tell them that it is not their fault. Never ever is any form of sexual abuse the fault of your child. So let them know it. Tell them that you're very proud of them and it's very brave of them that they came up to you and told you about this. What are the things that you don't have to do? Don't panic, don't overreact. None of that is going to help. Do not blame the child. Don't tell him कि तुम वहाँ पर उस टाइम पर क्या कर रहे थे. Even if you want to ask questions to the child, ask questions which are not leading questions. So do not lead the child into saying stuff which will confuse the child, and inside of that anger, because he's anyhow threatened, he's anyhow very, very emotionally weak. When you give out leading questions to them, they'll kind of get confused and kind of, mold their story. Do not pressurize the child to talk. उसको उस टाइम पर मत प्रेशराइज करो और बताओ मेरे को, नहीं अभी बताओ, कैसे बताओ. Don't ask the child to keep repeating the story to different people at different points in time. Do not question too much aggressively. बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल्स पूछने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. All you need to ask the child and stick to the fact. Where did it happen? When did it happen? Who was this person if you don't know the abuser? And how are you related to that kind of a thing is what you need to ask. Do not confront the offender in front of the child. Don't do that. It is never a good idea to do that. And do not ask the child to forget and adjust. That is never going to help. The child is going to resent it, is going to resent you, is going to stay in that fear for the rest of his life, in different areas of his life. So don't ever do that, please. What third you could do is seek professional support for yourself and also for the child. The kids who get timely support, they get counseling. You can get in touch with mental health professionals and help them recover through this trauma, right? And is also important that the family goes through, that you as a parent goes through that kind of counseling, because you yourself are also going through a lot of things. So getting that professional support and help is extremely important. Another important factor here that I want to mention here is that inside of the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse Act 2012, it's become mandatory to report any kind of child sexual abuse. In the description box, I'm providing you different resources, different helpline numbers that can give you more information about this act, and that can also help you understand child sexual abuse, how to handle it, how to report it, where to go, where not to go if ever it happens. That is all going to be there for you. You can refer to it. Thank you. Stay safe. Keep your kids safe. Thanks.